find myself And welcome to Oconee County Board of Commissioners meeting. Today is Tuesday, July 7th, 2026. After a moment of silence, we're going to ask Daniel Haygood to lead us in the pledge. Please stand. Thank you. To the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item of business will be to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second. Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is statements and remarks from citizens. This is for anything not on tonight's agenda. On the podium, tell us who you are and your address. And
Good evening. I am Jolene Gilbert. My address is 1401 Lane Creek Drive, Bishop. We'd like to approach the commissioners about a problem that we are having in our subdivision, Lane Creek Plantation. I've spoken to John Daniel on the phone. I've spoken with Mark Saxon. I don't personally know any of you except for Mark. I think Mark would attest to the fact that I don't speak unless it's really important. And this is really important. We're experiencing a terrible problem with the driving and the speeding in Lane Creek. I was one of the first 9 houses in there, 2000 and something. I left the neighborhood in 2006 and returned in 24 to a much different neighborhood. We currently have over 300 houses. We have 1 entrance, 1 exit. We have a straight-of-way of 2 miles, which is really not very straight. A lot of curves, a lot of hills. We have children, no sidewalks. We have joggers, we have cyclists, we have moms and strollers. We have pets. We regularly have very near misses around those curves, crying out for some help. When we first started there, I think it was 03 when I closed on my house, we were promised a second entrance exit somewhere to come because of the magnitude of the different phases. We haven't seen that, and we're not sure that's possible anymore. No sidewalks were done on the outset. We realize now that's a huge expense. So we're making a plea to you, let you know how bad the problem has become. I live right in the middle of that straightaway. I regularly see speeds 45 to 50 miles an hour in my 25 mile per hour zone. I don't like to spend time in my front yard. It's really scary to cut the grass out there when you get near the road. It's hard to go to the mailbox. It really is. There are so many cars and they can't help where they've got to go, but they've got to slow down. Brought with me neighborhood people who are all concerned as well. And I'd like to introduce Tom Golden. Tom's been there much longer than I have. He's been there for over the whole 20 years. And he's kept track of it too. So if I could, I'd like to turn it over to him. Okay.
Yes, thank you. I'll be brief, gentlemen. Madam Clerk, sorry. Tom Golden, 1361 Lane Creek Drive. This has been a problem we moved there 20 years ago last month. And Sergeant Major, your path and mine has crossed, but I know your brother. I was in Iraq with your brother, Bobby. But you would agree with me that we would not allow this on any post or installation. Not as a Sergeant Major, surely not as a Command Chief Warrant Officer. We just wouldn't tolerate it. And in my 3 tours in Iraq, I always thought I was going to get a Red Cross message telling me that one of the kids or somebody in the neighborhood was hurt or killed. It's just gotten outrageous. The kids have gotten older now. They're of driving age. The parents give them the cars. These things are a distraction. Commercial trucks coming in and out, the garbage trucks. Like Jolene said, it's hard to even stay in your front yard. And when the kids were younger, I had a line in the driveway, and I told all the other kids in the neighborhood that would come to play at the Goldens, you go past this line in the driveway, you're going home. Because the risk was just too great to have the kids out there. I've personally witnessed 3 close calls where I actually thought a young little boy got actually hit by a truck. Fortunately, the truck sat taller than he did. He was on a bicycle. He got ahead of his mom. He made a left turn to turn around to go back to pick mom up. He turned right in front of the truck. And my neighbor and we immediately ran there, and the bike was stuck under the truck. So was he, but he didn't get hit. It was amazing. And we have had one head-on collision at the corner of where Nicole Circle comes in. For years, we're not going to ameliorate this by asking people to slow down. They're just not going to do it. I stand out in my yard with a radar gun and I show them, and they get mad at me. They stop, they threaten me. They want to get physical. I'm like, okay, when do you want to go? I'll go, but it's gotten to the point where it's absolutely ridiculous. The kids, the swimming pool and the tennis courts are right at the corner where they start their run to come into at the top of the hill from the golf clubhouse, actually. And they come down that hill. They come around. John Byrne and I put up a parabolic mirror, because when the cars were coming out of the tennis courts and the swimming pool, you couldn't see in either direction. So we installed that. That helps, but it's not the answer. We've discussed it with the sheriff and previous sheriffs. They're just not going to write tickets. I mean, they told us, Mr. Golden, you guys vote. We're not writing tickets. Okay, we can easily vote you out of office just as we can keep you in office. They won't do it. We had the state patrol come in. That helped for a little bit, but as soon as they know they're gone, they go right back to doing, their behavior does not change. And I'm sympathetic. The people that bought in the back of the neighborhood, they're 2 miles in the back, and they have to weave their way all the way out to the front. And I made some calculations at 25 miles an hour, and we decided as a group that the average speed, I would say, is about 40 miles an hour. So at 25 miles an hour, to go 1 mile, it would take you 2 minutes and 24 seconds. If you did 40 miles an hour, that's 58, almost 59 feet per second. It would take you 1 minute and 30 seconds to get there. So you're saving 1 minute and 6 seconds if you just do that speed. I don't know how to slow them down. We've asked in the past for the speed humps, something. We just came down Cold Springs Road, and I can tell you through North High Shoals, they work. They work. The emergency vehicles, they don't care. I've dealt with emergency management. Sergeant Major, we've done this a long time. The emergency vehicles don't care. Their suspension systems they're robust enough to go over some of the most rugged terrain that's out there. They can hit city potholes that would swallow your car. They don't care. We do. And it's just a mess. And I don't know how to fix it, because I've tried to embarrass my neighbors. I've called them out. I've stood out in the road. I've hollered at them. But it is during school. You come in my driveway at 8 o'clock in the morning, you watch the kids just going by, zooming by, trying to get to the school. It's unacceptable. And to say that if past history is going to be any indication of future history, well, you haven't had anything happen, Mr. Golding. Yet. And when it does, and I've told my neighbors, I've had some very frank conversations with my neighbors. I love you, but I know which side of the table I'll be on when the questions start to be asked about your behavior, and if there's a lawsuit brought. Gentlemen, we need relief, please. Try the speed humps. We put the signs up telling them how fast they were going. As soon as they came down, guess what happened? They don't even hit their brakes. At my house, I'm the third house from the swimming pool and the tennis courts. They don't even hit their brakes. I'm watching them as they go. They have no idea if there's a golf cart or a kid on a bike or a mom pushing a stroller coming out of the swimming pool or tennis court area. And I just don't want to see it happen. But we're at our wits' end. We just don't know what else to do. If we don't get a second ingress egress, which I doubt we're going to get, Mr. Power promised, but never happened. I don't think it's going to happen. Just like when you don't like the job you had in the Army, poor MOS choice, right, Sergeant Major? poor choice of buying a house in a neighborhood with 300 homes with one way in and one way out. I just, but their behavior is appalling. And it cannot continue, gentlemen. Please help us. We need help.
Thank you.
I beg of you. Thank you, gentlemen. If you have questions, I'll be certain, I'll entertain any questions you have at this time.
I do have a few of them.
Yes, sir.
The promise or whatever from Mr. Power, is that in writing anywhere?
No.
Okay.
I was on the homeowners authority years ago.
But, okay, then let me stop you there.
Yes,
Is there an existing homeowners
There
association?
is. And DJ, where you at, DJ?
Okay.
He's our current president. But with the addition to the phases that Mr. Power has added on to the back, there was now, I never saw it in writing, Mr. Horton, so I can't attest to that. But what I can tell you is back on Rogers Road on the backside of Lane Creek, when the tree farm and all that was on that backside, that's where they were, the indication was that's where they were going to put the second entrance and egress site. But it never happened. And I think now that there's a homeowner that's purchased the land and it's not gonna, we'd have to find a right of way through there, sir, that I don't think they'd be very accommodating to do that with.
But you have talked with Sheriff Hale or somebody in his office?
Sir, we've talked to everybody. Yes. And Sheriff Hale is friends with some of the folks in the neighborhood. He comes and we bend his ear every time he's here at a social function, not the time or place, but you know, you got a tank in the open, you got to shoot it, right? So, you know, we do talk to him about it. And they did, they sent an individual out to sat in front of Jolene's house and,
If I could answer that
yeah.
question. I've called them numerous times. I've began the end of April in the spring. Kids are about to be out and I'm out there witnessing. Daniel Rainwater came out. Lex Ogan is in charge of traffic control, I believe, for Oconee County. He came out. They both said to me, "Oh my, you need a more permanent solution.
We do.
Can you get speed tables?" And I said, "No, it's against county policy." They say they don't have the manpower to be out there. They put up some radar detection signs for us. They did not collect data for a month. There was some problem with them, but they do agree that there is a problem out there and that we need a more permanent solution.
One more question. I just need a little bit more
Yes, sir.
specific background. Who put out any of the signage, whether it was run by solar or whatever on speeds
Sheriff's
or?
Department, they've done it on a number of occasions. They had a box you're familiar with when you're doing traffic. Where they have the box and they run the wire across the road. We used to have a speed limit sign just in front of my driveway and they did that box, they tied it to it. And one of the now this has been years ago, gentlemen, so, but the fastest speed they clocked going through there was 72 miles an hour. And where they placed these newer, the solar paneled ones, and the deputy did tell me, he said, "Mr. Golden, I'm probably not going to collect the information off of this because we've been having trouble with these units." So they came back and they placed them in a different area. And that's going to give an erroneous reading of the speeds that are actually taking place because they placed one right where the Y is, where you go off to the clubhouse and then when you start down the hill. Well, I mean, that's an obvious choke point that you're going to slow down. You're either going to, somebody's going to be turning, you got to slow down behind them, and then it's going to indicate your speed there. And then they put another one that was further down that just, that's not a true indication of what was going on. This was the second set that they just recently installed.
You got,
Yeah.
got it. All right. Thank you, sir.
Anything else, sir? You know what?
Not now.
Thank you.
I don't know, DJ, if you'll entertain our HOA president for a moment, sir.
Lead volunteer. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is DJ Butler. I live at 1051 Appalachian Trace, Bishop, Georgia. I'm here on behalf of the residents of Lane Creek. We're asking for help with a serious and growing traffic safety issue inside our neighborhood. We have repeated speeding concerns throughout the community, especially with delivery vehicles, including Amazon and other services that appear to be operating on a time-based route. Too often, they ignore the posted speed limit regardless of who or what is in the roadway. That matters because Lane Creek does not have sidewalks. Our residents, children, walkers, golf carts, pets, and families are sharing the same roadway with these vehicles. When drivers are rushing around through the neighborhood, there's very little margin for error. We understand speed sign data has been collected, but we also understand that the data is incomplete and may not paint an accurate picture due to the corrupted or missing information. Our concern is that real safety issue could be dismissed because of bad data, while the daily experience of residents shows something very different. Some residents have asked about documenting vehicle speeds themselves, but we do not want to have anyone chasing, following, confronting, or attempting to pace vehicles through the neighborhood. That is not safe, and it is not the right answer. At most, residents can safely document patterns from fixed locations, noting the time, direction of travel, vehicle type, and repeated problem areas. But documentation alone will not slow vehicles down. This is not about inconvenience, it's about prevention. We do not want to be standing here after a child, pedestrian, or resident has been injured asking why something was not done sooner. We're respectfully asking the county to work with us on effective traffic calming measures, including speed tables, raised crosswalks, additional signage, or any other proven method that will physically slow vehicles down in the neighborhood. Lane Creek is not a cut-through road, a racetrack, or a delivery shortcut. It is a residential community without sidewalks, and we need traffic control that reflects that. Thank you for your time, and we ask that this concern be treated with urgency before it becomes a tragedy. Have a good night.
Mr. Chairman, if it's appropriate, I would ask that just a representative of the HOA set up an appointment with me. I'm the county administrator. If you just set up an appointment with me to meet so I can just kind of document and understand the totality of the problem. I do. Not on me currently.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Any statements, remarks from commissioners? And just follow up with the Lane Creek, we did, road department did put some signs out. We just got that data back, hadn't gone through it, but I'll share that with the commissioners. Also, Justin's been working on a traffic calming policy so that we can have neighborhoods that are interested in doing things that are good in the roadway can get together, and there'll be a procedure for approaching and getting permission to do that type of thing. But again, as you know, the speed bumps are not allowed on county right of way for a multitude of reasons, but there are some other avenues that are available. Also, I wanted to thank our tourism department for the America 250. Anybody who was out there, it was a really good family event. So thank to them and all the sponsors that helped out with that. Also, we received our digest numbers from the tax commissioner's office. The incorporated digest increased from just under 392 million for the incorporated area in 2025 to 424,597,452 for 2026. $19 million of that increase is real growth, which means it's new property or improvements to property and not just reassessments. Incorporated exemptions increased by $4 million during that same time period. Unincorporated digest increased from $3.3 billion in 2025 to $3,520,575 for 2026. 176 million of that increase is real growth. Unincorporated exemptions also increased by 63 million during the same period. So real growth in the digest calculated at rollback rates would generate $824,893 in additional tax revenue in 2026 over 2025. The calculated rollback rates are as follows. Unincorporated would be 4.157 and incorporated would be 4.984. Got a little. State law requires that a gross millage rate be set in that is equal for both the incorporated and unincorporated properties. The millage rate is then reduced by lost and the insurance premium tax that is collected by the taxing authority. So for this year, the recommended millage rates for 2026 will be as follows. Unincorporated will be 4.124 and incorporated will be 1.54, which is the same as the 2025 tax rate. The recommended rates will generate additional property tax revenue of $788,124 over 2025. And this is just under 4.5% less than the true real growth of the digest. Based on the state law required calculations, we must hold tax increase hearings for the recommended millage rates. And we will advertise for those hearings for the following dates. On July 28th, 2026, we'll have a hearing here right before our meeting. On August 4th will be the second meeting. And then on August 25th, we'll have our third and final hearing with adoption to follow during the regular meeting. With that, we'll move on to approval of the minutes. This is for June 2nd, June 16th, and June 30th.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes as submitted.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Next item is a proclamation for the Animal Services Surgical Suite. Commissioner Harden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My honor to read this proclamation for Dr. Spencer A. Johnston Day, July the 3rd, 2026. Whereas the Oconee County Animal Services is committed to promoting animal welfare, protecting public health, and providing compassionate care to animals in Oconee County. And whereas the advancement of shelter medicine plays a vital role in improving animal health, reducing pet overpopulation, and increasing adoption opportunities. And whereas Dr. Spencer A. Johnston, in his role as Department Head of Small Animal Medicine and Surgery and Professor of Small Animal Orthopedic Surgery at the University of Georgia College of Veterinary Medicine, has demonstrated exceptional dedication to the advancement of shelter medicine, veterinary education, animal welfare throughout the entire state of Georgia and beyond. Whereas through Dr. Spencer A. Johnston's leadership, vision, and commitment to collaborative partnerships, Oconee County Animal Services and the University of Georgia College of Veterinary Medicine established a shelter medicine clinical rotation program at Oconee County Animal Services that provided veterinary students with valuable hand-on experiences while enhancing the quality of care provided to our shelter animals. And whereas this partnership has expanded educational opportunities for future veterinarians, increased access to medical and surgical services for our shelter animals, and strengthened the mission of our animal services to serve both animals and citizens of Oconee County. Whereas the establishment of a dedicated surgical suite represents a significant milestone in the continued growth of Oconee County Animal Services and its ability to provide life-saving veterinary care to animals in need. And whereas in recognition of his many contributions to shelter medicine, veterinary education, and animal welfare, this new facility will be named the Dr. Spencer A. Johnston Surgical Suite. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Oconee County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim Friday, July the 3rd, 2026, is Dr. Spencer A. Johnston Day in Oconee County, and this is signed by John Daniel, our chair.
Thank you, sir. We now move on to our hearing and actions on zoning matters. The rezone petition shall be presented by county staff with no time limit. The applicant and those signing up to speak for the petition shall be allowed a total of 20 minutes. Lest the applicants reserve time for rebuttal. Those signing up to speak against shall also have 20 minutes. The public comments will then be closed and the commission can have opportunity to ask questions. And then the board shall take action as set out in the Unified Development Code. With that, we'll call our first case, which is rezone request P 26-0115. It's AAC Land Partners LLC. Modify the conditions of existing rezone P 24-0115. It's 14.355 acres at 1660 Plaza Parkway. There's also a variance P 26-0116.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Again, this is rezone P 26-0115 and variance P 26-0116, AAC Land Partners LLC, applicant and owner. This is parcel C01050, currently zoned B2 in the regional center character area. And the request is to modify the conditions of existing rezone P 24-0115 in a B2 zoning district. The changes requested are as follows: to allow medical offices in lieu of the hotel. Number two, increasing the number of buildings to 4 from the proposed lot count of 3. Number three, increase the total square footage to a maximum of 113,620 square feet. The variance P 26-0116 is a request for a special exception variance from the UDC section 60401 and table 6.1 to reduce the minimum required off-street parking spaces from 471 spaces to 441 spaces, and to allow parking spaces to exceed the allowed distances from a building. This is the recorded plat in your application. The rezone concept plan and variance concept plan are the same. Architectural images submitted with the original application. And staff recommends conditional approval of P 26-0115 with our 3 standard conditions. Number 4 and 5 are the same conditions that were in the previously approved rezone. Number 6, transportation improvements shall be made according to the recommendations of the traffic impact analysis dated April 2026 by Kimberly Horn and Associates. And number 7, all lots shall be accessed via Plaza Parkway. A 1-foot no access easement shall be recorded along Paul Brown Parkway, Loop 10, and Jennings Mill Road. And the following uses shall be excluded, and those are the same from the original rezone. Planning Commission recommends approval of the same conditions. And staff recommends conditional approval of P 26-0116, the variance, special exception variance, with the same conditions. Thank you.
Now we'll hear from the owner of the agent of the owner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Justin Greer, Pittman and Greer Engineering, 1050 Barber Creek Drive. A pretty simple request before you this evening. As Guy said, we were before you, I think at the end of 2024 with a rezone that had 2 buildings for a fitness center and a hotel. That was on 2 lots. And the modification is to do medical office in lieu of the hotel, increase the number of buildings to 4, and also increase the lot count to 3. The variance, pretty simple on that as well. So in talking with the owner, the code, the UDC requires more parking than is really needed for his programming for the sports health club. So it's basically reducing that overall parking for the health club. And there's some additional parking on lot 2 for the medical office that can be shared. There'll be shared parking agreements and access throughout the whole development so they can go back and forth as needed. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak for the rezone or for the variance? Does anyone wish to speak against either? With that, we'll close public comments. Any questions from commissioners? We'll entertain a motion on the rezone request P 26-0115.
I'll make a motion to approve rezone P 28-0115 AAC Land Partners LLC. Excuse me. Modify the conditions of an existing rezone P 24-0115, 14.355 acres, 1660 Plaza Parkway is currently vacant, with 8 conditions.
Second. Motion second to approve rezone request P 26-0115 with 8 conditions. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And we entertain a motion for the variance.
I'll go ahead and do that one too, Mr. Chairman. Make a motion to approve P 26-0116 AAC Land Partners LLC. Reduce the minimum required off-street parking spaces and allow parking spaces to exceed the allowed distances from a building, 14.355 acres, 1660 Plaza Parkway vacant. I forget, I didn't write down the eight conditions. on that.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to approve variance request P 26-0116 with 8 conditions. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Now we'll move on to rezone request P 26-0117. This is Front Row Properties LLC. Modify the conditions of an existing rezone number 7278. It's 0.25 acres at 2053 Experiment Station Road.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Again, this is rezone P 26-0117, Front Row Properties LLC, applicant and owner. This is parcel B 06M800 and B 06M900. It's currently zoned OIP in the Civic Center character area. And the request is to modify the conditions of the existing rezone number 7278 that was approved back in 2017 in an OIP zoning district. To the changes requested are to remove neighborhood scale church from the list of disallowed uses, and number 2, to modify the concept plan to indicate the parking calculations for the mix of proposed uses in the existing office park. This is a recorded plat you have in your application, the concept plan showing the 2 proposed buildings, the architectural images of the existing buildings. And staff recommends conditional approval with our 3 standard conditions. Number 4, total building square footage of the development shall not exceed 63,700 square feet. The site lighting shall be oriented to the interior of the site so as not to impose glare or objectionable light levels on the neighboring residential properties. Light levels shall be 0-foot candles at property lines of any adjoining residential zoned or residential use property. Number 6, dumpsters shall not be located within 100 feet of the property line of any residential zoned or residential use property. Number 7, the applicant shall submit a field change to update the parking allocations for the proposed neighborhood scale church. Number 8, the neighborhood scale church shall meet all UDC requirement criteria per section 31801. And number 9, the principal uses not allowed in the office park shall be as follows, and that is after the neighborhood scale church has been removed from that list. Planning Commission recommended approval with the same conditions. Thank you.
Now we'll hear from the owner or the agent of the owner.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. David Elder from Valiant Services. Thanks for the opportunity to speak with y'all. I think Mr. Herring did an excellent job of kind of summarizing everything that we're requesting in this. I'll just add that ever since I started working on the redevelopment of this parcel, which has been since 2018, 2019, sometime then, we feel like it's come together and been a very successful project for the county. We feel that these shells for building 800 and 900 being built out and potentially utilized for the church is a good fit because the church will need to utilize parking at times when the offices that are other units in the complex are not utilizing that parking. And so it's kind of a symbiotic relationship, and we feel like it's very good, you know, all around for everybody. And I'm happy to answer any questions that y'all have if you have any for me.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak for the rezone? Does anyone wish to speak against? With that, we'll close public comments. Any questions from commissioners? Hearing none, I believe we're ready for a motion.
Make a motion, we approve rezone P 26-0117 Front Row Properties LLC. Modify the condition of existing rezone number 7278, 0.25 acres, 2053 Experiment Station Road, commercial with the 9 conditions.
Second. A motion is second to approve rezone P 26-0117 with 9 conditions. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we'll move on to special use P 26-0118, Grace Fellowship Church of God. Is to modify conditions of an existing special use approval 7581, 21.65 acres. It's 1150 Malcolm Bridge Road.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Again, this is special use P 26-0118, Grace Fellowship Church of God, applicant and owner. This is parcel B 03052B. currently zoned R2 and AR in the suburban neighborhood character area. And again, the applicant is requesting a special use permit modification for special use permit 7581 to, one, modify previous condition number 5 to remove the requirement for a fence as part of the required incompatible use 25-foot landscape buffer. Number 2, modify the concept plan to indicate the existing 3,725 square foot residential structure will remain on the property and be used for church use. The building was previously proposed to be removed. Number 3, to modify the landscape plan in the entrance median to plant lower profile ornamental shrubs instead of the 6 Kazan cherry trees. A revised planning detail will be submitted to the planning department for review. This is a recorded plat, the concept plan, and concept plan in your packets, architectural images. And staff recommends conditional approval with our 3 standard conditions. Number 4, the total building square footage, including all proposed and existing buildings, shall not exceed 86,160 square feet. Number 5, all site lighting, including any existing lighting, shall consist solely of full cutoff luminaires as defined by the Illuminating Engineering Society of North America. Number 6, the developer shall construct right-of-way improvements of the proposed entrance, including a deceleration lane and center turn lane. Final design and location of such improvements shall be subject to review and approval by the Public Works Director. Number 7, any and all transportation improvements, including but not limited to the improvements proposed along Malcolm Bridge Road and depicted on the associated concept plan dated 6/2/2026, shall be completed prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for the expansion of the main church building. Number 8, the landscape strip along the Malcolm Bridge Road right-of-way shall incorporate evergreen plant material measuring at least 3 feet high in height, in addition to the minimum standards of the landscape strip required by UDC Section 805. Number 9, all proposed screening and buffers shall be installed prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for the expansion of the main church building. Number 10, an enhanced 25-foot landscape buffer meeting the design standards of UDC Section 808 and incorporating dense evergreen plant material as follows shall be constructed along all property lines adjoining residential and agricultural uses, except at the eastern property line adjoining tax parcel A05018. The following shall be installed in lieu of a fence where existing vegetation does not meet the requirements of the UDC for a double row of vegetation. A double row of staggered evergreen trees with a planting density of 10 trees per 100 linear feet. 10 green giant arborvitae per 100 linear feet closest to the exterior lines, minimum 10 feet height at time of planting. 10 Arizona cypress, Carolina sapphire per 100 linear feet at the second row, 12 feet high at time of planting. And number 11, a field change shall be approved to reflect proposed changes to the approved plans based on the SUP approval. The Planning Commission recommended approval with the same conditions. Thank you.
Or hear from the owner or the agent of the owner.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Carter with Carter Engineering Consultants, 1010 Commerce Drive in Bogart. And I'm here tonight with several church members and pastors, and they're ready to speak if needed. But I told them, I said, I think we can handle it. But if you guys have any questions for them, I'm sure they'll be glad to speak up. So this special use permit came before this body back in 2018. By the way, the church, they're almost done with construction, and I'm sure you're aware of that, but looks great. It's a really nice looking project. And if I could just draw your attention to our narrative, which I think explains it really well, on page 3 and page 4, what we're asking for. So basically there's 3 components to this. The primary is we're asking for the fence to be removed from the buffer. And in the UDC, there are some provisions which that could be waived or reduced. And we've outlined the rationale for requesting the fence to be removed from the buffer. And I'll just briefly go through them. The buffer will exceed code minimum. In other words, we're adding evergreen material in the buffer. The topography on the north side. So if you're standing on the adjacent property, you're looking up at the church property. So to put a fence down there where you see a bank behind it doesn't make a whole lot of sense on the north side. So adding evergreen planting material is going to get taller. It makes a lot more sense on the north side. The church did a really wonderful job of talking to the surrounding property owners. I actually have, and I hope you got those in your packet, but I have four letters from adjacent property owners that I would just like to read briefly. To the Oconee County Board of Commissioners, I'm the owner of property adjacent to Grace Fellowship Church located at 1120 Malcolm Bridge Road, and I'm writing regarding the church's variance request related to the perimeter fence requirement. I understand the Grace Fellowship Church is requesting approval to eliminate the requirement for a barrier fence as shown along the north and south property lines. After reviewing the request and considering the surrounding area, I support this variance. My support is based on several factors, including existing natural tree buffers and landscaping already provide a visual separation between properties. A perimeter fence would add significant construction and long-term maintenance costs without providing a substantial benefit to neighboring properties. The church has been a good neighbor throughout the planning and development process and has worked to communicate with and consider the concerns of adjacent property owners. The proposed campus design maintains the character and the appearance of the area while preserving open views and existing natural features. The absence of a fence will allow the property to remain more visually attractive and integrated with the surrounding landscape. As an adjacent property owner, I do not believe a perimeter fence is necessary and respectfully support Grace Fellowship Church's request for this variance. I ask the Oconee County Board of Commissioners to give favorable consideration to this request. And this particular property owner actually wrote in there, not only is a fence not necessary, it will be a problem and a bother for us. Please don't make them put this fence in. So I've got these letters. If you have them in your packet, if not, I'll be glad to pass them around. And so we feel like that, that satisfies the condition in the UDC about considering neighboring property owners. The cost and maintenance burden on the fence, we feel like adding the evergreen material and the buffer long-term is a much better solution in terms of maintenance. And then finally, just the aesthetics in this particular area. A fence a lot of times is great for a residential neighborhood, but in this particular setting, and I think the property owners attest to that, the surrounding property owners, that it's just not a great look. They would much rather have the evergreen buffer material. And so the other two changes that we're asking for, we consider those kind of minor, but while we were coming before you, we wanted to make sure we get this on the record. At the front of the property in 2018, when they came through with the special use permit, the goal was to make that a counseling center. That is still on the church's heart and something they want to do, but they also don't want to be bound to having that structure be only a counseling center. So they want to be able to use it for church administrative type functions. And so what we're asking for is just for that to be changed. It was a little binding, a little strict in the 2018 special use permit. And then finally, there's some trees in the median shown on the special use permit from 2018. We are wanting to not block the sign. We're not wanting to put in the median. We're going to meet all the county codes. It's just another, what I consider real minor from 2018, that we just want to make sure that that's not going to be required in the final analysis. Again, we got 100% UDC meeting all the requirements in the UDC. So it's not about that. It's just really about the placement on that concept plan. So I hope that explains what we're asking for, but we'll be glad to try to answer any questions that you may have. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak for the special use? Does anyone wish to speak against? With that, we'll close public comments. Any questions from commissioners?
I do have one. Mr. Herring, is it common for us to do the fence around the church like that?
That is a requirement because of the use. It's more of an institutional use as opposed to any type of residential or agricultural use. So yes.
But all the churches don't have that.
I don't know. I'd have to look back, but I don't know.
My other comment too is, I've been doing this almost 18 years. I certainly try to help churches. And I don't really have a problem And you may have to help me, Mr. Herring, but I don't really have a problem with an older house on the property, because a lot of churches buy property or acquired it, whatever. There was a structure, a house, maybe a ranch style house that's used for some type of office. So would it really make any difference whether they're having church type functions there?
That's what they're proposing. They're proposing it as an accessory use to the church, which is fine. That meets our ordinance. It's just that they had proposed to remove it on the original concept plan.
Whatever reason, that original rezone, 2018, I think a lot of it was proffered up at the time. So just cleaning it up, that strict language.
Okay.
And yeah, staff has recommended approval
Okay.
with those.
I was just more curious about it. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? I believe we're ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve special use number P 26-0118 Grace Fellowship Church of God. Modify the conditions of an existing special use approval number 7581, 21.65 acres, 1150 Malcolm Bridge Road. It's currently vacant with 11 conditions.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve special use P 26-0118 with conditions. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we'll move on to variance request P 25-0300. It's Chip Patterson. This is reduce the required setbacks of an accessory private recreational facility. It's 0.75 acres, 2759 Allegheny Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Again, this is variance P 25-0300. Chip and Eleanor Patterson, applicant and owner. This is parcel C 018F029A. Currently zoned R1 in suburban neighborhood character area. And the request is for a special exception variance to section 41002B and table 4.1 to reduce the required rear setback for an accessory private recreational facility from 40 feet to 15.6 feet. This is a recorded plat you have in your packet, the concept plan showing the proposed encroachment to the rear property line. Staff recommends conditional approval with our 3 standard conditions. Number 4, exterior lighting, if proposed, for the sport court shall meet the requirements UDC section 30604 exterior lighting requirements. A photometric plan that meets the requirements of UDC Article 12 shall be submitted for review with the building permit. Number 5, the property owner shall obtain a final inspection after construction to verify the location meets the granted variance. And I'm sorry, number 1 is our standard condition. Number 2, the property owner shall obtain authorization from Environmental Health Department on the location of the proposed accessory private recreational facility sport court prior to construction. And number 3, the property owner shall obtain a building permit for the accessory private recreational sports facility and retaining wall prior to construction. Thank you.
Eleanor Patterson.
Hey, good evening, everybody. We're just want to put a little sports court out for us to enjoy with our 4 daughters. We're trying to avoid our septic field and some beautiful hardwoods that are in our backyard. So that's the reason we're trying to push it back just a little bit so we don't have to take those trees down. Not planning to do any lighting. We go to bed pretty early and I can answer any questions. We've talked to our neighbors. They're all on board. We're very active in our neighborhood and make sure that we don't, do anything that'll disrupt that. So, and we have approval from our HOA as well. So thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak for the variance? Does anyone wish to speak against? With that, we'll close public comment. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I've got one. There's a conflict between the application and the conditions. I wanted to make sure that the applicant was, and I heard you say that y'all were not planning any lighting, and that kind of conflicts with the condition number 4. So I would be for future homeowners that may have that use of that court in the future, I think it'd be important to reword condition number 4 to line up with their intentions not to have lighting. Other than that, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, which condition was that one?
Condition 4.
Your proposal would be to change it to no lighting allowed.
Well, reword it in such a way, I guess Mr. Herring can put his education to that task.
That's fine. We would, strike number 4, or either modify to state the no lighting would be allowed.
Just modify the state, no
No,
lighting
no
allowed.
lighting. That's right.
If we could do that, I would appreciate that.
Any other questions or comments on these? So, Mr. Variance,
I know we're planning on doing an as-built after the fact, but I would like to just encourage you as a property owner to make sure that you're putting this retaining wall where it's supposed to be, as opposed to, relying on the as-built, because we've gotten in trouble with that. And then you're gonna have, if it's not where it is, then you got to come back and get another variance. So just make sure your contractor does his job.
no other questions? I'm ready for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be glad to make a motion to approve variance P25-0300 for Chet Patterson. Reduce the required setback from an accessory private recreational facility, 0.75 acres at 2759 Allegheny Lane, with the 5 conditions, with number 4 being reworded to say no exterior lighting.
A motion and a second to approve variance P25-0300 with 5 conditions and number 4 being restated as we discussed earlier. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Does any commissioner wish any item to be removed from the consent agenda? I believe we're ready for a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We have no need of executive session, so Commissioner Saxon,
Motion adjourned.
Second.
we are adjourned.